Hey guys, in today's video, I'd like to talk about the overall Bitcoin market as well as cover the latest updates with strategy MSTR. We'll also talk about the latest news with the miners, especially the big three miners that I've been covering. We'll go through what has been going on with the Bitcoin market and what my price predictions are in the remainder of 2025. Now, what we've seen going through the last couple of weeks now is just heightened fear and uncertainty around the price of Bitcoin. Some of you are wondering, are we beginning to see a pullback? Are we experiencing a correction? And all of this is attributed to like the recent economic data. For example, we got CPI data in the prior weeks, as well as the job reports. And we're expected to see job reports that's going to be coming out in the following month. And most of what we're hearing right now with Doge making things more efficient, cutting, you know, jobs at the government level, will this have an impact with the jobs reports and how will this really impact the economy? I think in addition to all of that, with Trump, having reciprocal tariffs, all of this market's uncertainty, it's really going to cause market reaction, and it's up until we start seeing more stability within the stock market as well as in the crypto space. That's where we'll start seeing more price appreciation. But right now, I think with all the news that's been going on, especially with news with DeepSeek AI that caused some turbulence within the market, as well as the recent news with Bybit getting a 1.5 billion hack with North Korean hackers. Now, what does this all mean? Most of you are wondering, is now a time to buy, sell, or even dollar cost averaging down with Bitcoin, MSTR, or even the big three miners? We'll go through all of those updates, but from my perspective, I really do think that now is not a time to panic sell. Always make sure to make decisions based on sound reasoning and logic and not, basing it off of your emotions. But first off, if you're new to this channel, I would really appreciate you first hitting the like and subscribing for more related content. Let's get started first. We're looking at the price action of Bitcoin. So today we saw, price hovering at, the healthy state of 96,000, and all of a sudden it just started tanking down all the way down to 91,000 where we currently are right now. It's hovering, sub 92,000, but the question is, are we going to see some more pullbacks? Is it going to dip down to 88,000? I don't have the magic eight ball. It can very well dip down even further. But to me, I do think that, Bitcoin is here to stay. There's so much sentiment going on. I think this is all just suppression with the price of Bitcoin. And if you're investing altcoins, it's even taking a bigger hit right now. So with Bitcoin dropping by about 4 to 5%, you look at altcoins, for example, Solana, it's down to like $140 now from its prior run up of like 270. So where we are with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is the best, coin out there, we don't see those huge volatilities, especially what we're seeing with like the altcoins. But to me, I do think that here's an opportunity. Let's say if you're interested in Bitcoin, we're still not out of the woods yet. Bitcoin has room for more growth in the year 2025. And what we're seeing is just some minor correction. But I don't think that Bitcoin, even if it drops down to 88,000, it'll just get bought up quickly here. But I do see that as we head into March, we may see some turbulence. Who knows? But very well, I do think that we're going to start seeing some upward movement here. Just looking at this heat map here, you see Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, everything's all in the red zone here. I mean, you don't see anything really in the green zone, but that's also the stock market as well. I mean, even on Friday, everything was down. But just with this week earnings report, we'll cover updates as well. For example, with Riot announcing their earnings report, and we're expected to see, MARA, NVIDIA announce their earnings report this week. But a sea of red here. But I think that this is just a temporary thing, and I wouldn't worry too much here. Just looking at here, the Bitcoin price prediction and forecast in orange is the actual price. In green, we have the stock to income. In teal, we have the stock to flow model. But just key takeaway here is that, over time, Bitcoin price will just continue to appreciate upward. But just based on the post-halving event that took place in April, we're still in that Bitcoin bull cycle, generally pre and post-halving of the Bitcoin halving event. That's when Bitcoin price tends to appreciate up, and we do typically see the relative strength index kicking in at like 80 plus RSI. I'm thinking somewhere around, transition to Q4 of 2025. That's where we'll see the Bitcoin bull cycle sort of taper off. But who knows, with all of the change in the catalyst right now, with the government being involved, global countries really interested getting exposure with Bitcoin and other Bitcoin type of leverage plays. Who knows whether there's going to be like, huge volatility with big time market corrections. But I do think that Bitcoin price, forecast of this year, 2025, we could very well get above the $180,000 range in the year 2025. Just looking at the public companies that own Bitcoin here. So you see MSTR, we'll cover the latest updates, but now with the total HODL of 499,096 Bitcoins on their balance sheet, they own 2.377% of the total Bitcoin supply of 21 million. You also have here MARA with 40,000 Bitcoins. Riot Platforms will cover the latest updates with Riot's earnings report, 18,221 Bitcoins. The top three, companies here, would be MSTR, MARA, and Riot when it comes to the amount of Bitcoin that's on their treasury. The latest news with the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. So we've heard a lot about SBR and the United States Sovereign Wealth Fund. Currently right now we have about 31 SBRs introduced, with 24 states trying to get into that SBR. However, there are certain states that have got the decline on the approval of SBR. But just looking at where we are right now, you see Utah ahead of the game here. And what if Utah gets the full-on approval from the legislature, the Senate? I think this is really going to be the paradigm shift. You see Arizona, Oklahoma also in the race here. But I think key takeaway here is, it'll be interesting to see what Texas has to say. But, just with all of these states involved, and we know that this week there's big time, Bitcoin advocates going on right now with Senator Cynthia Lummis and, just with Cantor Fitzgerald. There's just so much going on right now, along with, the Trump committee. I think all of this is really just going to drive up the price of Bitcoin, even though we see here Montana, North Dakota, Pennsylvania getting a decline at current state. But just looking at all of these proposals from all these states, it's very unlikely that, all of these states are going to get, disapproval here. There has to be some states that get approved. And what does that mean? Orange is going to be the new black, and for a state to really adapt to build on its monetary value, they'll have to just adopt Bitcoin as the strategy for combating inflation to allow the United States to be the powerhouse of crypto and AI. Let's take a look at Michael Saylor's posting today. So, Strategy has acquired an additional 20,356 Bitcoin for a total of $1.99 billion at 97,514 per Bitcoin. And now they've achieved a Bitcoin yield of 6.9% year to date in 2025. As of you know, February 23rd, 2025, the total HODL right now is getting close to that 500,000 Bitcoins total. But overall, just based on the amount of Bitcoins on their treasury, their average cost right now is 66,000 per Bitcoin. You really can't get anything better than that, but just look long term. Think about when Bitcoin price breaks through $1 million or $500,000. Think about the current hodl here. I don't think strategy is going to slow down anytime soon. Michael Saylor will continue to borrow more money and acquire Bitcoin. However, most of you are wondering, why is it that MSTR share price has been dropping like within its recent run up of 550, it's dropped by, 40%, while Bitcoin has only dropped by like 5%. Riot Platforms with the recent updates that they released today. So just based on earnings per share, based on financial analysts were expecting numbers of like, 14 cents earnings per share, but they beat financial analysts here announcing their actual EPS of 43 cents per share. Big time numbers here, and just based on revenue here, expected numbers of 139 million for Q4. However, actual revenue here beating the expected results when it comes to revenue of 142 million dollars in Q4 updates here. So I think just based on the recent prior events of earnings report, the fact that Riot was able to beat the actual expected numbers here when it comes to EPS and revenue, this is looking like there could potentially be a technical reverse bullish pattern based on fundamental updates here. And just looking at the latest updates, power credits from Q4, $33.7 million total revenue, $376 million generated. Although total Bitcoin mined, a reduction compared to prior halving event of, last year, you see here going from like 6,000 to close to 5,000 Bitcoin. All of that's attributed to miner difficulty, and that's expected. But overall, improvement on the deployed hash rate now at the end of Q4, 31.5 exahash. So I think all of this was, just big time milestone achievements, especially with having positive updates with the Q4 earnings report. So we also have MARA soon to be announcing their earnings report on Wednesday. So what does this all mean when it comes to just technical analysis? So here we have, just based on the candles here, we have MSTR, we have Riot in the sort of the pink color, and then we have CleanSpark in purple, and then we have uh, Mara in more of the darker purple hue here, but just very close race here, when you look at it from like a 5-day chart here, just based on the four stocks here with CleanSpark down 14%, Riot 16%, MSTR and Mara at around a loss of 16%. But when you have a 1 month, scale back here, you see Mara left behind with 30% drop here, MSTR with the 25% drop, Riot 24% drop, CleanSpark 23% drop. So big time drops with these companies here. But I do think that one of the key things here is that the RSI has been, significantly oversold, going down, at that 11, 12 RSI. So what does that mean? I think that with the recent updates that we've got with CleanSpark, even though heavy suppression post earnings, I think with Riot's recent announcement, we're consistently seeing that, these miners are able to show that they're able to generate revenue with better earnings per share than, what the financial analysts are saying. So any, upward movement with the price of Bitcoin can really start shooting up the share price. But when you look at it from like a 6 month scale here, of course, MSTR is still, ahead of the game with 90% gain. Riot right behind them, Mark and CleanSpark in third and fourth place here. But just based on year to date here, you could see that it's Riot, with the 4% drop, MSTR 5% drop, right neck to neck with CleanSpark. But you see here Mara with a big time 20% drop. But I do think that these companies will have an upward movement. I think now's definitely a time to dollar cost average down, especially with the big pullbacks we're seeing here. While, price of Bitcoin, when Bitcoin goes up, it goes up by, now where we currently are, by like 80%, 100%. But with these type of stocks, when it goes up, it can shoot up by 3 to 5x. That's why we're seeing heavy volatility with the recent months where CleanSpark, Mara, Strategy, Riot can drop anywhere from like 30-40% within a matter of weeks, which we've seen. So when things can drop that fast, it can very well start going back up. And now is definitely a great time to dollar cost average. But again, don't take my assessment here as financial advice. Always do your research. So there you have it. I hope you found this video valuable. I gave you updates on why is it that, Bitcoin strategy and the miners, why is it that the prices have been dropping down? Is now a time to buy or sell? We cover the latest updates. And if you really enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate you hitting the like, subscribing for more related content. I also take a look at all of the comments and questions. Let me know where you're watching from. Thanks, guys, for stopping by.